They weren't just outboards, they were the heart of American summers. From the crackle of a cold start two-stroke to the smooth pull of a modern four-stroke, these machines ruled lakes, rivers, and coastlines. They won base tournaments, pulled skiers, and built memories that still echo today. If you've ever heard one fire up at dawn, you already know. These are the 22 outboards that truly dominated US waters. Let's hit the throttle. The Mercury Black Max 150 wasn't just an outboard, it was a statement. Released in the late 1970s, this V6 two-stroke became a legend on base boats and performance hulls across the US. With 2.0 liters of displacement, it was light, aggressive, and perfectly tuned for speed. On a properly rigged 18 to 20-foot boat, it could easily hit 60+ miles per hour, making it a favorite for tournament anglers and lake racers alike. Its iconic black and red cowling became a symbol of American horsepower, and its scream at wide-open throttle was instantly recognizable. Even today, people still rebuild and run these motors because they were that good. The Black Max didn't just power boats, it built Mercury's reputation as the king of high-performance outboards in the 80s and beyond. When Yamaha dropped the VMAX 250 HPDI in the early 2000s, everything changed. This wasn't your dad's two-stroke. It was a high-pressure direct injection beast with race-level throttle response and shocking fuel efficiency. With a 3.1-liter V6 and up to 6,000 RPM, it dominated base tournaments across the southern US, especially in states like Texas and Florida, where speed wins. What made it special was the combination of brute torque and smooth operation. It ripped hole shots, carved turns, and held top-end speeds above 70 miles per hour on the right hull. Yet it still idled quietly and sipped fuel compared to older carbureted motors. The VMAX HPDI earned a cult following, and for good reason. It proved you didn't need four strokes to be clean, fast, and deadly on the water. The Evanrude ETech 225HO was a two-stroke rebel in a four-stroke world. Launched by BRP in the mid-2000s, it delivered serious V6 performance with cleaner emissions and lower maintenance. This wasn't just a fast motor, it was smart. It self-winterized, ran whisper quiet at idle, and could go 300 hours between scheduled service. But don't let the polish fool you. This thing ripped. With 3.3 liters of displacement and high output tuning, it regularly pushed 20 to 22-foot hulls to 60+ miles per hour. Anglers loved its hole shot, and offshore guys respected its grunt. It was built for people who wanted raw power without the bulk of four strokes. The 225HO didn't just compete, it fought back, making two-stroke believers out of a whole new generation. Love these legendary outboards? Hit that like button and tell us which one powered your first boat. We're just getting started, and trust me, some wild ones are still coming. The Johnson GT 150 was a loud, proud icon of 1980s American boating. Part of OMC's high-performance lineup, this 2.6-liter V6 two-stroke was the brand's answer to Mercury's Black Max. Dressed in bold graphics and a mean stance, it wasn't just about looks, it had bite. The GT 150 was factory-tuned for strong mid-range torque and could push base boats and lightweight fiberglass rigs into the 55 to 60 miles per hour range. This motor became a favorite among tournament anglers and go-fast lake racers, especially in the Midwest and South. It had that raw, two-stroke growl and wasn't afraid to scream at the top end. While Johnson faded from the market in the 2000s, the GT 150 lives on in garages, rebuild shops, and hearts of outboard fans who still call it a legend. The Honda BF150 isn't flashy, but it's a silent killer in the 150 horsepower class. Launched in the early 2000s, it runs a 2.4-liter DOHC inline-4, borrowed from the Honda Accord, with VTech and Blast tech that give it real punch across the RPM range. This motor is all about smooth, quiet speed and legendary reliability. On a well-matched 19 to 21-foot boat, it can hit 48 to 53 miles per hour with ease. Anglers love the fuel economy, while families love how quiet it runs even at wide-open throttle. It also sips fuel compared to older two-strokes and barely needs attention between services. The BF150 didn't dominate with noise. It dominated with refinement. It became the top choice for serious boaters who wanted performance and peace of mind in one clean, efficient package. The Mercury Racing 300XS wasn't built for cruising. It was built to win. This high-performance 3.2-liter V6 two-stroke used Mercury's direct fuel injection system to squeeze massive power out of a lightweight package. It was the go-to choice for base boats, tunnel hulls, and offshore race cats aiming for 80+ miles per hour straight out of the crate. Weighing in at just 505 pounds, it had a power-to-weight ratio that embarrassed bigger four-strokes. With the right prop and setup, it could launch a boat onto plane in seconds and hold top end like a freight train on rails. It also had surprising durability, making it a favorite on the tournament circuit. The 300XS didn't just dominate, it made no apologies. It was Mercury's answer to every boater who wanted insane speed without sacrificing control. The Suzuki DF140 is one of the quietest legends on this list. Launched in the early 2000s, this 2.0-liter inline-4 four-stroke quietly took over coastal bays, flats, and lakes with a simple promise: lightweight speed with bulletproof reliability. With 16 valves, DOHC, and multi-point fuel injection, it punches far above its weight. Matched with an 18 to 20-foot skiff or bay boat, it'll cruise easily at 40 to 45 miles per hour and top 50 with the right prop and load. It's also one of the lightest 140S on the market, coming in under 400 pounds, which helped it dominate repower jobs on older hulls. Mechanics love it, guides swear by it, and owners often say the same thing. It just runs. Quiet, efficient, and rugged, the DF140 earned its reputation the honest way, by never quitting. Small but mighty, the Evanrude 9.9 kicker earned its reputation in cold mornings and tight spots. Built for trolling, backup duty, and tight horsepower lakes, this lightweight two-stroke, later offered in four-stroke too, became a staple across the US, especially in the Pacific Northwest and Great Lakes. Fishermen loved it because it started easily, sipped fuel, and ran smooth for hours at low RPM. On a 12 to 14-foot aluminum skiff, it could still reach 15 to 18 miles per hour, but its real talent was precision trolling at 1 to 2 knots without sputter or stall. Easy to maintain, light enough to carry, and reliable enough to outlive the boat it's bolted to, the Evanrude 9.9 was more than a kicker. For many, it was the difference between coming home empty or with a full cooler. If there's one outboard that quietly took over American lakes, it's the Mercury Force 90. Powered by a 2.1-liter inline-4, this modern four-stroke delivers smooth acceleration, excellent fuel economy, and just enough punch to keep things exciting. It became the standard choice for aluminum rigs, pontoons, and center consoles nationwide. On a typical 17 to 19-foot hull, it comfortably hits 40 to 45 miles per hour and planes quickly, even with a full load. Its low-maintenance design, quiet operation, and easy starting made it a hit with weekend boaters and serious anglers alike. What really made it dominant? Accessibility. This motor was the go-to choice for boat builders and repower jobs across the US. Reliable, efficient, and priced right. It may not be flashy, but the Mercury 90 got the job done, year after year. The Yamaha F150 is the marine world's Ford F150, dependable, versatile, and built to work. Introduced in 2004, this 2.7-liter inline-4 four-stroke quickly became one of the best-selling outboards in US history. With 16 valves, DOHC and EFI, it delivers smooth, quiet power from idle to Watt-T, and it just doesn't break. On 20 to 23-foot bay boats, offshore hybrids, and deep V hulls, the F150 routinely hits 45 to 50 miles per hour. It's strong on torque, easy on fuel, and runs whisper silent at cruise. Boat mechanics love it because it's easy to service. Anglers love it because it always fires up. The F150 didn't dominate with flash. It dominated with trust. If you've ever rented a boat, fished a charter, or owned a mid-size rig, odds are you've run this motor. And probably still are. Before Chrysler was building minivans, they were building motors that made serious noise on the water. The Chrysler 105, a 105 horsepower two-stroke V4 from the late 1960s and 70s, was one of their most iconic outboards. It wasn't refined, but it was fast. And that's what mattered. On lightweight fiberglass boats, this motor could push speeds into the low 50s, competing head-to-head with Mercury and Johnson in the growing performance scene. It featured a bold white cowling with chrome accents and a burly sound that screamed across the lake. Though Chrysler Marine folded in the early 1980s, the 105 left a mark. It made high-speed boating accessible to middle-class families and helped kickstart a new era of weekend warriors. It may be a relic now, but back then it was a rocket. If you grew up on a lake in the 80s or 90s, chances are you saw a Mercury 25 XD hanging off the back of every rental skiff, duck boat, or John rig. This lightweight, two-cylinder two-stroke was Mercury's workhorse in the 20 to 30 horsepower range. And it earned that title the hard way, by never quitting. With a tiller handle and manual start, the 25 XD was as simple as they come. But on a 12 to 14-foot boat, it could hit 25 to 30 miles per hour with ease, and it handled like a dream. Duck hunters, guides, and dock owners trusted it to fire in the cold, idle steady, and survive years of abuse. It wasn't flashy, but it was everywhere, and in many places, it still is. The 25 XD was Mercury at its blue-collar best. The Yamaha 40 Enduro didn't win beauty contests, but it won loyalty like few others. Built for rugged use in remote regions, this two-stroke workhorse was made to handle dirty fuel, rough water, and endless hours. It became a legend in Alaska, Central America, and rural parts of the US, where dependability mattered more than style. With a 703 cubic centimeter two-cylinder design, it pushed 12 to 16-foot boats to speeds of 30 to 35 miles per hour, reliably and consistently. Mechanics loved its simple carbureted setup. Guides loved that it rarely, if ever, quit. Painted in that matte gray with minimal decals and zero attitude, the Enduro was all business. In a world of polished cowls and techie diagnostics, it stayed analog. And for many working boaters, that was exactly the point. The Force 85 was never the most refined outboard, but it absolutely earned its place on American waters. Born out of Chrysler's Marine division and later absorbed by Mercury, the 85 horsepower Force became a staple on budget-friendly fiberglass boats throughout the late 80s and 90s. With a basic 3-cylinder 2-stroke layout, it could still push 17 to 19-foot boats into the 40 to 45 mile-per-hour range. Loud, yes. Finicky on cold starts? Often. But for families who just wanted to ski, tube, or cruise on a budget, the Force 85 delivered speed and fun without draining the wallet. You'll still see them on Craigslist, still running decades later, held together by love, luck, and a bottle of 2-stroke oil. It wasn't perfect, but it got a generation of boaters out on the water. Did the Force 85 bring back memories? Or nightmares? Hit subscribe if you've ever owned an outboard that rattled, smoked, and somehow still ran for 20 years. More iconic powerhouses are just ahead. When Mercury launched the Verado 300, it didn't just make a splash. It redefined offshore outboards. This 2.6-liter inline-six, paired with a supercharger and digital throttle and shift (DTS), delivered car-like smoothness with serious power. Boaters could hit speeds over 60 miles per hour on center consoles and bay boats without sacrificing refinement. The Verado 300 was a game changer. It eliminated the rough, rattly feel of big 2-strokes and replaced it with whisper-quiet, idle, instant throttle response and joystick control options. It made twin and triple setups more precise and far more luxurious. This motor didn't just power boats, it powered the movement toward high horsepower 4-strokes in offshore fishing and recreational boating. For anyone wanting power, tech, and prestige in one slick package, the Verado 300 set the new bar. The OMCC Drive was one of the weirdest and most innovative power plants ever strapped to a transom. Introduced in the late 1970s by Outboard Marine Corporation, it wasn't quite an outboard and not quite a stern drive. It mounted high on the transom with pivoting articulation and integrated steering, making it perfect for houseboats and workboats that needed clearance and control. Powered by V4 and V6 2-stroke Johnson or Evanrude powerheads, the C-Drive delivered solid, low-end torque and was surprisingly maneuverable. It never caught on with the mainstream, mainly due to complexity and cost, but in its niche, it ruled. You'll still see C-Drives powering older Gibson houseboats and pontoon hybrids. Strange. Yes, but during its heyday, it was the right solution for a very specific boating need. The Yamaha F70 punches far above its weight, literally. Weighing just 253 pounds, it's one of the lightest 70 horsepower 4-strokes ever made. That makes it perfect for flats boats, inflatables, and lightweight skiffs where every pound counts. Introduced in 2010, the F70 immediately became a favorite in shallow water and inland boating circles. Powered by a 996 cubic centimeter 4-cylinder block, it offers exceptional acceleration, top speeds up to 37 to 40 miles per hour on smaller hulls, and fantastic fuel economy. Add in Yamaha's bulletproof reliability and quiet operation, and you've got a motor that feels more like a 90 than a 70. The F70 proved that you don't need big displacement to get big results. It's quick, efficient, and light enough to make your hull feel brand new. A small giant in Yamaha's lineup. The Johnson 6 Seahorse is the kind of outboard your grandpa kept running longer than his lawnmower. Introduced in the 1950s and refined through the 70s, this 6-horsepower 2-stroke was compact, reliable, and incredibly simple to operate. With its seafoam green paint, chrome accents, and rope start, it looked as classic as it ran. Ideal for 12 to 14-foot aluminum boats, The Seahorse 6 could reach 12 to 14 miles per hour and troll for hours on a gallon of fuel. Its popularity soared across fishing camps, rental docks, and weekend cabins all over the US. What it lacked in power, it made up for in pure dependability. You didn't worry about this motor. You just packed an extra shear pin and fished. Quietly, the Seahorse helped build America's boating culture from the bottom up. The Mercury 115 Pro XS is proof that small can still mean fast. Introduced as a performance-tuned version of the standard 115 four-stroke, this 2.1-liter inline-four delivers stronger mid-range torque, a higher redline, and quicker throttle response, all in the same lightweight package. It quickly became the go-to for serious anglers running aluminum base boats, bay skiffs, and sport pontoons. On an 18-foot hull, it can hit 48 to 52 miles per hour with ease. What sets it apart is the blend of efficiency and aggression. Lightweight at just 359 pounds, yet built to scream at over 6,300 RPM. Add SmartCraft tech and an aggressive gear ratio, and it's a true sleeper. If the regular 115 is your daily driver, the Pro XS is your street-tuned weekend rocket. Fast, sharp, and built to be pushed. The Honda BF90 is quiet, reliable, and tougher than it looks. This 1.5-liter inline-four uses VTech for variable valve timing and blast for low-end torque, delivering smooth acceleration and crisp top-end response. It's perfect for 16 to 18-foot boats, where it can reach speeds of 40 to 45 miles per hour without making a fuss. Weighing in at around 366 pounds, it's light for a modern four-stroke, making it popular for flats boats, aluminum rigs, and runabouts. Boaters love how quiet it idles and how little fuel it burns at cruise. Mechanics love it because it just doesn't break. The BF90 isn't flashy. It doesn't scream or surge. It just shows up, runs right, and gets you home. In a world of high-tech outboards, it quietly became one of Honda's biggest wins. The Evanrude 25 with a tiller handle is the outboard that launched 1,000 John boats. Whether duck hunting in Arkansas or fishing remote Canadian lakes, this two-stroke workhorse was the go-to for simplicity, torque, and just enough speed to keep things fun. With a 521 cubic centimeter twin-cylinder layout, it could push a 14-foot aluminum boat to 28 to 32 miles per hour with ease. And that's with two people and a cooler full of gear. The tiller gave full control in tight, shallow runs, and the manual start option meant fewer parts to fail. It was light enough to carry, strong enough to haul, and easy enough to fix on the tailgate. For countless outdoorsmen, this motor wasn't just reliable, it was tradition. The Mercury Racing 450R isn't just an outboard, it's a weapon. Built on a 4.6-liter V8 platform and boosted with a supercharger, the 450R redefined what performance means on the water. At just 689 pounds, it delivers 450 horsepower at the prop, with a throttle response more like a superbike than a boat motor. It's the go-to for offshore catamarans, high-speed center consoles, and luxury performance rigs. Triple or quad setups? No problem. This motor can push 50-foot boats past 100 miles per hour. And thanks to digital throttle and shift and adaptive steering, it still feels smooth and refined at idle. The 450R didn't just dominate, it shattered expectations. It's Mercury Racing's loudest flex yet, and proof that outboards are now every bit as wild as what's under a race car hood. These weren't just motors, they were machines that built legends. They screamed at dawn, skipped across glassy lakes, and hauled generations of American dreams across the water. Some were loud, some were smooth, and a few were downright ridiculous. But all of them ruled. If your favorite made the list, hit like. If it didn't, drop it in the comments and let the arguments begin. Subscribe for more. We're just getting warmed up. See you at Wide Open Throttle.